We're live with Hanna, and then we'll be going through the self-affirmation block. And first things first, the audience will want to be knowing what is printed on your top.
Yeah, I will say it now so you don't have to wait.
Yeah.
It said, don't let anyone with bad eyebrows tell you shit about life.
Oh. Okay. Oh,
So
you're on your bed. So you can't stand up and give us a twirl or anything like that. No. Right, here we go. Self-affirmation block. I should have opened the graphic first. So while I do this, you could tell me what you think of the first two blocks that we did.
Oh, what did I think about them?
Yeah.
I was a bit torn because in some ways I can relate very well, especially the SIs and TI are in those positions feel quite, I don't know, quite familiar or natural. But then there are some things that I felt are not that fitting.
Interesting. In what ways? Is it just like the preferences? Which bits were unlike you?
There was some, I don't remember exactly, but something in the NI I think was a bit weird.
Oh, since I did that, I might have come up with a way of explaining it better. Although I can't remember. It's I think it's because the INFP can see the consequences of things. That I would imagine that, okay, somebody who is thinking about their relationships with people and they can see the consequences of things, then they can see the consequences of their interactions with people. And that might make them hesitant at times, second guess themselves. They might think, oh, if I say this, it might have this effect on this person's feelings. Because they might be able to do the cause and effect of feelings. Whereas, like, say, ISFP, FISE might just express their own feelings, not necessarily thinking about the consequences on other people because they're acting in the moment of what they themselves feel rather than thinking on the knock-on effects.
Yeah. You said that. Yeah, I guess it's harder for me because I feel that I'm so moody and so unpredictable sometimes that I don't have any stable preference with the ground. So it depends on the day how I react. Sometimes I can be like that, and sometimes I'm more selfish or more self-centered about expressing myself. So
I noticed something about thinking about because I was looking at Helen Fisher's work on dopamine and how Dario defines SE, and ISFP, all the SPs are the best at dealing with the crisis situation because they're locked in, the dopamine's making them focused, and the way, and obviously the way you've talked, and we'll talk about this in the next video, but the way you react under pressure, you might think, whoa, I am not an ISFP. I'm an INFP.
Yeah,
I don't like this.
Yeah, and okay, well, this is a bit well, this is not the main theme of today's video, but we have talked about this genetic influence, and I was trying to, because I have done this 23andMe. I know my I know my genome. I mean the most important SNPs, and I was trying to find out whether what kind of dopamine and serotonin system I have genetically. Of course, they are always just tendencies. They are not. It's not determined just by my genetics, but there are some links, and there is this, like specifically strong links with some dopamine sensitivity things. And I am a genotype that is the so-called warrior, not warrior, but warrior. So I'm dopamine sensitive, meaning that I can't bear too much external pressure or anything that makes me even more dopamine, because I have pretty good dopamine based on my genetics. I have pretty good dopamine balance. So I'm one of those genotypes apparently that underperforms in stress if they are stressed. So I'm in other words, I'm the opposite of SE types.
Right. Well, if you ever want to do a hangout in future where we go through your genome,
that's fine. Yeah, but I just have to learn more about, because it's a bit it's quite muddy waters.
You know Helen Fisher's book. I could send you some scans from it, because I think you said you've read it, but you took it back to the library or something like that.
Yeah, I've read it in Finnish.
All right, because she mentioned like the COMT and the MAO enzymes to do with dopamine uptake or breakdown.
She mentioned some genes. This DRD4 I think was one, and I tried to look for those in my genome, and I have one allele of this explorer. So I have this explorer impulsive thing in me, like half. So that's why. I think I'm somewhere. I'm another clear J or P type.
Right. I think personally the biologists have run together too much of the SE and the NE, and they are because they don't know about. I mean, if they knew Dario's work and they knew, then they would be able to see the difference between SE being tightly focused, so a racing car driver, and then somebody who's also active, but then tangenting all over the place.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there.
Oh yeah.
It's just that. So dopamine makes someone more focused. It's just that SP types are not on the dopamine all the while, because that's why they're bored.
Yeah, and
it's just that once they are stimulated, then they are focused.
Yeah, because then they get in the ideal state of dopamine when they get enough input from the external world, whereas those who are more sensitive to dopamine, they already have the good balance, so they don't really need the outward.
Yeah. And it reminds people that the human brain is a lot more complex than, and actually I think it should be called not necessarily neuroscience of personality, the neurochemistry of personality, because it remind people that it's hormones and Right, here we go.
Okay,
right,
sorry.
So, here we go. So this is the self-affirmation block. And I was speaking to someone last night, and another INTP, and she said, and she used the phrase, in my element. And I thought, not only is that a good pun in socionics, but that's a good way of describing internalities. As when somebody is in their element, in terms of on their territory, like discussing a subject, and they feel comfortable, it's like within their range, within their close range. As an introvert, they have like a closer range of psychological distance with people. So here we go. I don't know how clear that is. Is that clear enough?
Yeah.
Right. Just for those who are watching this on a mobile phone, at close psychological distance, functions included in the bottom row are called internalities, which means they are aimed at its territory. Right, so not at society. So, what we got? When working externally, internalization is suppressed and muted via the vertical supervision, one-way inhibition. The function in the first position constrains the function in the fifth. The second, in Hanna's example, that would be Fi constrains NE. So, you know, when you're busy connecting with people, you're not, that takes precedence rather than changing subjects onto things that you want to talk about. The FI takes precedence.
Mm-hmm.
The TI will suppress the no, not TI. The NI will suppress the TE. The TI will suppress the SE, and the SI will suppress the FE. Yes, there we go. Mental gymnastics. But this is just the okay. It's like, because the first block is social mission. So if we, in order to explain the idea of internalities, if somebody is in their social mission, like sort of, I suppose, and if we say that social mission is a bit akin to their societal role. So for instance, say you had an ESFJ mother, and their social mission and their sort of like role in the family will sort of like reinforce each other. So maybe their like children would only see like, mainly they'd see like their FE and their SE, the fact that this person's getting them to follow the rules and right, and then that is, so that role, that social mission is suppressing them what they're like at closer range, because that's might be different in different circumstances. Oh, I need to think of a good example. I don't really want to talk about the INTP all the while, but the INTP, right, I'll talk about the INTP to explain this. Right, I'll go to the INTP diagram, because David Mark Kersey also agreed with this. It doesn't like being called junior. Right, right, what we got here? Is that the right one? Is that it? No, I've actually seen it. Oh well, that's the wrong one. What about this one? Is this it? Is this the right one? No, that's Bill Clinton. I mean, ESFP. Oh, okay. That's my name for the time. I just call it Victor the politician. I call it Bill Clinton because I wanted a smart ESFP, and Bill Clinton is a smart ESFP. Oh, yeah. Okay, right. So I can explain it for INTPs. Most people would encounter them as, who's that analytical nerd talking about complicated things I don't understand? That's how they might. But when you get to know them more closely, or when they're on their territory, or say in a hangout about this subject, then you might see their NE. So you'll see that, and people should see that in me, changing subjects all the while and being stimulated by things. And because I'm on my territory and I'm enthusiastic about things, then I will express that. Yeah. That will then come out. If I'm not enthusiastic about a subject, then that FE won't come out. And so maybe in this sense, at close range, I go a little bit like an ENFP, where they get enthusiastic and expressive. So just for me, so for instance, reserved, does not like small talk, irritated by uninvited guests, right? But can have a lively conversation if the topic is of personal concern to him, right? Can present any topic in an exciting, fetching way, and frequently in a very animated manner. Maria wrote that. She wasn't necessarily describing me. She was describing people, other INTPs that she's known. And here's the key bit. Although unfriendly and abrupt with outsiders, for his loved ones, he can create relaxed and festive atmosphere. So it's just this idea of range, of being on their range, in their...
What do you think are ISTPs, or I mean, minus these are ISTPs who have the same FE here? Do they show the same kind of?
They should do.
Mm.
I imagine they should do. Even though they'd be a bit more, I would imagine at close range, they'd be a little bit more like an ENFJ, I suppose. Victor has this FE plus, FE minus thing. And although he wrote in that charges sheet and it made the ENFJ look bad, having looked at the Google Translate of the profile, it's not that bad. So I imagine it should be similar. But of course, they have SE here. So they would come across more as an ESFP, I would imagine, at close range. I think that they would come across as an ESFP. So so INTP would come across more as a bit of, like, say, ENTP, ENFP, and ISTP would be more ESTP, ESFP. I would think ESFP for them. Right, so this is just an idea of the internalities, externalities. Right. That old expression, some people warm up once you get to know them. Right, now, they don't have as much reserve. So, for instance, if we go back to here, FI, keeps his distance from people, may seem stern, aloof, uncaring. But it's what it is. It's INTPs are usually interested in things that other people are not interested in. And so when they come across someone who's interested in the same things, it's like, oh, I want to talk about this. Have you thought of this, and this? That's how it happens. Now,
yeah, I see it in philosophy, because those INTPs, well, they can usually be very aloof and distant when they are talking about their own research, some topic they are interested in. They will be very, very different.
Yeah, and you think, what happened with these people? Right, what happened to them? Okay, what we got here? So the blocks. Right, I'll say some stuff about the strength of these blocks now. Right, so we've done the fact that it's on close range. Okay, so we've done that, and it's activated when the person's on their range. Right, okay, I'll trying to get the right size. It's a little bit of a. Oh, that's about as good as it's going to be. Right. I also think that people are quite proud of the functions in these positions. So for you, this would be NE and TE.
Yeah.
And Victor writes, this is the strongest position at close range. So as you said about INTPs, once they're in their elements, they come across differently. And that you can see more of their NE, I suppose. I don't know if that's your experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't bog the audience down with details.
Yeah. Hey, come on. I'm finished. You know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, yes.
Okay. Right.
And I told Ben that I've had a migraine today, so if I'm
okay.
Yeah, if I'm a bit slow, it's just that my brain is sort of like stuck.
Right. According to it, right. So basically, according to it, man is asserting itself. Okay. I'm gonna zoom in to make it easier for people to see these two blocks. Right. So this is the equivalent in MBTI of the auxiliary function on the left and the inferior function on the right. So this is a quote from Victor. According to it, man is asserting itself. At the same time, it is a signal for attracting your jewel. Okay. So, in theory, say if this was ESFJ, their demonstrative SI would launch the INTP's launcher SI when they offer to make them a sandwich or something. Oh, thank you very much. Or we could say an ENTP's TI, because their TI is very linear. We were talking about that before the hangout. not very flexible, and will launch the ISFJs or SIFX will launch because they like to be given clear instructions, but on the same time the ISFJ SIFX is also very interested in ideas and possibilities and things like that. And that is why many ISFJs might think that they're an intuiting type, because they are so much stimulated by ideas. So if you're interested in ideas and possibilities and still like housework, you might be an ISFJ.
Yeah, and it's really sad if people don't want to be ISFJs. I love ISFJs. I think they are really cool. I have many of my close friends are ISFJs, and I admire them.
We could do a hangout in future with Rachel, because I believe that she is a ISFJ. And her look is that these examples relate exactly to the ISFJ, these dual functions. Right, okay, so, according to it, man is asserting itself. Okay, so do you think that in these YouTube videos where you see people talking about their type, do you think they're always proud of their auxiliary function?
Yeah, I think it depends on the type. I think for some types, it can be. I think introverts are maybe more proud of their auxiliary than extroverts. That's just well, I'm thinking about ENFPs now, because I've noticed that some ENFPs are a bit scared of their FI, or they try to hide it, or they feel uncomfortable. They can feel uncomfortable expressing their FI. So I don't know how they feel, but I've noticed in some ENFPs that they are not always so proud of it.
If I was to make a prediction about that, I would think that it's because NE wants to do what it wants to do. FI would be holding them back in terms of feelings about what is and is not appropriate. So it's like their FI would check their sort of hold back, restrain their NE. So maybe ENTPs are a bit more NE than ENFPs at times.
Yeah, I think so. And it's funny because many ENFPs find my FI a bit intimidating or moralizing. Because my theory is that they see themselves. So. But
you've got a black belt in FI, Hanna, because you studied.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm proud.
Yeah, go on.
I'm proud of my FI, even though it's not in this block. Oh, I also know that it can be a pain in the arse, but if I can talk about because I still identify as INFP, so
yeah, that's fair enough.
And I can and I can really see, I'm really proud of my NE and TE, and and I have evidence for that. I have taken the official MBTI. I've taken it 3 times, and I got ENTJ 2 times and ENTP once. So, and
oh no.
Yeah, so I think I idealize TE and NE leads in some way, and I sort of want to be a bit. And I always say that, yeah, I am INFP, but I have a very strong TE. You know, it's like sort of like, you know, I'm proud of my TE. What I think is my TE. So at least, theoretically, I feel I'm proud of them.
Right. Okay. Right, okay. Position used triggers others' activity. Username is demonstrative. Okay, so this we have worked in ISFJ. Right. Okay. ISFJ has launched a TI, so tertiary TI, and they become active when they know the rules or is given a good explanation. And I could check. And when I interviewed Rachel, she said that she loves to be given clear instructions because she feels that is comforting to her, that she knows what she has to do. And then this idea, he will try to get others into action with his display of emotion. So this is for ISFJ. I tried to get some from Viktor. Then I'll say what those are in a moment. Once we've gone over a bit more the profile. Oh yeah, MBTI auxiliary. Oh yeah, Dario. There is high activity for this, for the function in this position, and people have most comfort for the lead function and the auxiliary function, so the demonstrative. But there's also there also can be high activity for the creative function, so it's a little bit tricky. So if you're looking at the EEGs, you could, if you look at the EEGs, you can work out someone's lead function, but their auxiliary function is a little bit trickier. So that's why now I tend to call the types, like say I would call an INFP. Functionally, I would call them FiNx, because it's really quite unclear how much NE and NI they're using. Then we've got okay. So now if we go now to the demonstrative, if we go to that in the profile, let's see what it says in the profile. Right, here we go. What have we got here? Is this it?
How can you remember
No,
which one? Which one is what?
I'll put my mouse over it, and a little text thing comes up,
Yeah.
and right, that's the old graphic. That's the one that that one is what it looked like before it went digital. Right. What do we got here? Okay, ISF. Is this ISFA? Yes. Oh yeah, and just next to it, this is FiNx wheel. So this is a little bit like EP, EJ, IJ, and IP. In fact, it might be exactly the same. So unstable perceivers. Yeah, so I think this is the same as Viktor and Jung's temperaments. These ones, FiNx wheel. Right. Right.
Yeah, these are like the four humors.
Yeah. And then we go. But of course, David Kersey would say, "Oh no, one of these is like SP and all that kind of stuff." So interesting. Right. Okay, here we go. So now we're on NE. In the here we go. So then, Hanna, how much are you encouraging the talents and supporting capable people?
Well, many of my friends say that I would be a very good tutor or mentor because I push people towards their dreams. Or how do you, yeah. So I like to do that.
Yeah, I'm just moving some windows around. That's why it's gone a bit funky.
But what do you support?
When you said push,
but what is supports capable people? I mean, capable in what way? Only capable. I don't support only capable people. I like to support all kinds of people. But what do you mean by that?
That's a good point. That is a good point. But it's that for that particular function. I mean, obviously, you have this thing up here, the SI, where your discomfort, illness, physical deprivation of other people causes active compassion in him. So maybe that's the other end of the scale.
Yeah.
Where like the people you have compassion for, and then down here, this is people whose abilities you see in them. And of course, this is, Viktor would say this is stronger in, because position 4 rather than 5. It's just that this one is strongest at close range.
But you know, as a nurse student, all the nurses, or what we should do is we want to empower all the people. So even those who are feeling bad, we want to, we want to activate their own strengths and and capabilities and abilities. So in that way, I feel I want to support everyone. That's all. Or let's say I see everyone as capable.
Oh yeah, I mean, just see anybody's capabilities. It's also for the Google Translate as well. And actually, that's bit that I rewrote. So and I had to like fit it in the box. Okay. Well, just anybody's talents, anybody's positive sides. Everybody's good at something. In fact, that might be an attitude of the INFP. Do you think INFPs in general have the attitude that everyone is good at something?
Yes, I think so. I think INFPs are very democratic, or what is the right word? They don't discriminate in that way. They are not. Well, if you compare to Enneagram, I don't think many INFPs are type 3s. So they are not status oriented. They rarely are status oriented, or they rarely. Well, that's my feeling. I think INFPs don't like hierarchies. They don't like to put people like classify their in a hierarchy. Yeah.
Although I can imagine a situation where an INFP might want to be the king or queen of INFPs because they might want the status as like the most compassionate person, like writing books about certain causes or things. You can get these odd combinations, you know, where you almost have like that person's a professional INFP, right? They're like, because you get these people, don't you, who like it's more about them than the actual cause that they're advocating.
Yeah.
They're
type 4s.
How about this one? This one could stimulate your imagination and your recall. Educates children by their personal example.
I wish I could educate them by my example, but I fail so often that I have to say that don't follow my example, but do what I say.
But before people think you're a bad parent, what are the types of your children?
I'm fairly sure. Well, my younger one is ESFP. He's ESFP. There's no doubt about it. But my elder son, he's NF. But I'm not sure which NF. He's more likely an introvert. I think he might be INFP like me. But
right.
But INFP that is not, well, that can go very NE.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So it's not like you've got SJ children who sort of like parent themselves.
Yeah, I've seen those kind of children, but yeah. I didn't get those myself.
In fact, sometimes the SJ children try to parent the parents.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's really funny.
Especially when they're about 8 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sitcom character. If you're going to have a sitcom, have like an 8-year-old kid who's like a little SJ.
Yeah. My elder brother I think he's ISTJ or ISFJ. And he's always been very, being capable of taking care of practical things. Like his room has always been very neat. And, yeah.
If anyone has got any, Jeff would say that what you should do if you have SP children is let them think that they are getting away with something.
Yeah.
So in other words, let them think they are being naughty when they're not, because they always want to be naughty.
Yeah. And what is really clear in my ESFP son is that everything needs to be fun. I mean, it's really obvious, and that's how I usually get. If he's having a tantrum or something like that, it's easiest to get it done with if I make up something fun. Or, for instance, if he's crying and shouting or whatever, and then I come on, let's have a pillow fight or something, and then it sort of explodes the situation in a good way.
After you've done your homework.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. Able to sacrifice her interests for the sake of those she considers worthy.
I think it depends on what kind of interests.
I think what it means is, if you think of ENTP, they're pretty much going to do all their ENTP stuff, all the things they want to do before anybody else. Whereas INFP, they've got this demonstrative NE. They like to do like different things, have interest, but they're going to put people first. And I suppose that's what it means.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mostly can do that, but if I'm in a bad mood, then I'm not going to. Then I'm going to be more selfish.
Yeah. When I say put people first, I mean like particular people who you have a close bond with.
Yeah.
Hence the worthy.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, it's true. Yeah. There's some truth in it.
Now this bottom one is a whole can of worms. His demonstrative faith in good and what looks good is somewhat naive.
I don't have faith in good, but I don't know. I'm quite pessimistic. So. But I've talked about this with some INFPs, or what I think are INFPs, and they also think they are INFPs. And what Michael Pierce said in his very good INFP YouTube video, the INFPs can separate. They have this fantasy world that is very idealized and very and can be very like naive looking. But I think INFPs are quite aware that it is a fantasy world, even though they prefer to spend time in that fantasy world. They are still not. They are still realists in a way that they know that okay, reality doesn't necessarily look like that, but they still like to keep in touch with this fantasy. I don't know if this makes sense, but this is my experience, and this is what Michael Pierce, how I interpreted his video on INFP.
Yeah.
That's what where I could see that in myself.
Yeah, I hope to be doing more videos with him in the future. And
yeah.
one we could do like 4 videos. Because I've come up with some ideas to do videos where it's like how people get on with the types. So like doing a video, so I could do one with you, Hanna, in the future. Like, how does Hanna get on with the SJs? Oh, very well, thank you very much, Ben. Next video. But like, all the other ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I might once do that for a joke. Like, how do you get on? Like, okay. It would get down the average length of my videos. Right.
I can help you with my Finnish talents, that I can be very short wordy or scarce with my words if it's needed.
Yeah. If you do that with someone else. Right. So what now? If we do right. Okay. So I know this. We won't go back to the political discussions that we had last time or the time before. But do you think that INFPs can be naive?
Yeah. But like I said, yeah, they can be naive, but it means they are idealistic. They understand that things are not like that, but they they can see that the world, and I think they are right. Of course, I think they are right. The world would be a lot better if it was really like the INFPs would want it to be. It would be a lot better. It would be really good because INFPs know what is good, and that's their strength. INFPs are the best in knowing what is good.
Right.
I'm certain of that. But unfortunately, most people are not INFPs, so they don't share this. Ideals. Hey, come on! I can show some pride of my type. Yeah. So of course they look like they are naive to other people. But I just say that they are idealists in that way, but they are not idiots. They are not idiots. So.
Of course not. Right. Now David Kersey. Full disclosure, he was an Austrian. He was into the Austrian school, and his son said that they would talk about Austrian school economics for over many decades. So the same economics as Peter Schiff. So there's a reason why I'm saying this, because he wrote in his INFP profile something which I think is a little bit naughty. Right. I can take the, right, I just got to get, let's see if I can get it to focus. Ah, there we go. Oh, there we go. Right. Oh, I hope everybody didn't hear that, but they show a tendency to take deliberate liberties with logic, believing as they do, and unlike the rationals, that logic is something optional. They may also at times assume an unwarranted familiarity with a certain subject matter, but even in their impressionistic way, that they know all about that, though they've never really mastered the details.
Yeah, I do that, but I think that's a bit unfair description, and it's not. It's clearly written by someone who is not an INFP.
Yes.
Yeah. The reason for that is because this is what I just talked with one ENTP who called for rational discussion, and I said, yeah, I also agree that rational discussion is important in that we have to know what we are talking about, or I mean, we have to be clear about where we come from and stuff like that. But when we are talking about ethical things or moral things or values, they are not just rational. So, and I think INFPs know that very, very well, and they don't try to make it look like it's all about logic when it's not. Because if you really go deep into why people, even ENTPs, why they are arguing for something, I firmly believe that we don't choose rationally what we support in values. So yeah. So that's why I think INFPs are in some way more honest about their perspective, saying that yeah, they are emotional. Deep down, they are emotional choices. We just make up rational excuses in a way.
This idea of the seeing the limitations of freedom. When I'm writing a character, and you know what the character's values are, and you're writing within that character. So, for instance, whenever a character does something, some person might say, "Oh, that was out of character." So you have, and even when if you're improvising that character at the desk, then you are operating within limits. And paradoxically, if you didn't have those limits to freedom, freedom wouldn't exist, because you would have no motivation at all. There would be nothing. There would be nothing there.
Yeah, freedom. I don't really even believe in freedom in a way that many Western people do. I don't believe in free will, for instance. I do believe in voluntarism, but that's different than free will. Voluntarism means that you're not coerced to do something. But whether we are really choosing freely, I don't believe in that.
Something I can quote from something of my own is I have a character that is talking about this subject, and she says something like, "I am not a character written by nature and nurture." Then it goes on and on. But people are characters written by nature and nurture. But within that, there are freedoms within. But again, a lot of times, if you're writing a character, you can force them to make choices depending on the circumstances. But you can argue, oh, there may not be freedom. But we're going to say, yes, but we're holding people responsible for their actions. We will lock them up if they do things naughty.
Yeah, but that's different. You can lock people up even if you don't believe that they have free will. But because you want to, well, there are many reasons. You want to show other people that if you do naughty things, you cannot live freely in the society. So it's sort of like an example that there will be consequences if you do stupid things. And then also yeah, I think it's a protection for other people. If you can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's just for, and that's why I come from the old welfare society, and we have our this distributive, how do you call it, whatever, this forensic system, so that we are
redistributive.
Yeah. I hate this. You know. I'm sorry. Today my words are really coming slowly.
It's a hard word even for me to say, and I'm a native speaker.
Yeah. So in Finland, where I live, our sentences are not that long, and they are rehabilitating more than, for example, in the United States. And I think one big reason is that we view the role of the criminals in a very different way than American people. In America, it's more seen like, those people chose to do criminal things, and they are responsible for everything they did because they have free will. That's like the idea, the main idea. And it's a bit different here. And
although, I think it can go too far the other way, where it does not. I mean, people could take David Kersey's work about artisans, and they could reach the conclusion of they can't help it being that way, and so you could actually use it to actually excuse a lot of behavior.
But it shouldn't be.
So he worked, and I always say to socionics people and MBTI people, if you want to know about SPs, read David Kersey's work. He worked for 30 years diagnosing, what did he call it? I've got the book. I'll say what the book is. I'll just get the book. It's on the back of the book. It says, so he worked for 30, before he came out with the original Please Understand Me, he was he was working with, and he was training other psychologists in how to deal with people who were troublesome. And so his whole thing, so you'd be interested in his work just from the, so we've got here. Right. Where's diagnostics? Where does he mention diagnostics? Right. Where does he mention that? Oh, here we go. I'll just, people wonder, who's Marilyn Bates? Well, she was the person at the university who kept telling David Kersey, look, turn your lectures into a book. And she kept prodding him to do it, so that's why she got the co-writer credit. And so here we go. I'll just fix it on my block. So I've got, the authors are trainers of therapists and diagnosticians of dysfunctional behavior at California State University, Fullerton. The impatient with the maturity theories of Freud, Maslow, Erickson, Shihei, Levinson, and others, they insist that not everybody goes through the same phases of growth to maturity. You may have an identity crisis or two, but I won't have an cut. It's not because I'm fixated, arrested, or hung up at some immature stage, passage, or season of my life. I hear different drummers. And then he says here, you can't change people. You can't change their temperament. Abandon the Pygmalion project.
Yeah.
So for 30 years, he was working with troubled and troublesome. So he started off working with troubled and troublesome boys in schools. And then he became a professor teaching other psychologists that you can't change people. So he knows so much about how the SP temperament, how the energies of the SP have to be directed into a positive direction. And part of the problem is this, is we always talk about, I always try to talk about circumstances and upbringing in these videos, is where if the education system was different in America and there was more vocational training, that would be better for SPs. And I don't know what it's like in Finland, but is there more vocational training that's friendlier to SPs?
What is vocational? You have to explain.
Well, it's they're taught trade. They're taught crafts. They're taught practical things.
Yeah. It's
basically
yeah.
basically non-academic subjects where, ironically, they'll end up in jobs that will get paid more money than the person doing an academic degree who ends up in an office.
Yeah, they do. And if I compare my kids' school to my school, it is a lot more activating and concrete and more hands-on there. And they are also more like they take different personalities, or not personal, but preferences in learning into account, so that different students can use different kinds of methods. Also, I have some friends whose kids are in Steiner schools, like Rudolf Steiner schools, and in those schools they use this kind of vocational teaching a lot, and they even, in some Steiner schools, they even use this for temperament division. So they analyze the child and what temperament the child is.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
That's the big problem, because most criminals are going to be SPs, and because I think it was situationism that said that they had a theory that viewed crime as risk-taking behavior. A lot of the light crime, like vandalism and all of that kind of stuff, and you'd probably think, why would they do that? Why would they break stuff up? Why would they deliberately smash things up? And when you hear something like just for the fun of it, it's like, well, once, and it's, you have to redirect those energies, and like I said, and
it's the dopamine. They need good sources to get the dopamine.
And so when David Kersey got to Please Understand Me Too, he'd been working with these people, like thinking about these people with dysfunctional behavior for 50 years. Right, so he saw the negative side, but he also saw the positive side. His parents were SPs, and all of his fellow fighter pilots in World War II were SPs. So people who would have saved his life. So he was always trying to and so as people go through David Kersey's work, people might be thinking, whoa, he's really trying to make them look good. Instead of saying that they're indisciplined, he's saying, oh, no, they're not indisciplined, they're adaptable.
Yeah, but it's true. It is true.
It's SJ might say they're ill-prepared. No, they're able to adapt in the moment. So he is trying to make them better. And one other thing he said about INFPs that could be a little bit naughty. We will see. Because he never wrote this about IJs. He put.
Did he have a problem with INFPs or what?
No, I think what it is like I said, because he was an Austrian school guy, it might have been a political thing. Because it's like, why can't they understand the old standard? Why can't they understand the Bastiat's, the fallacy, the broken window? It might just be things like that. What we got here? Oh, they have difficulty thinking. Now, this one I don't necessarily agree with, because I was trying to relate it to TE. They have difficulty thinking in conditional if-then terms. They tend to see things as either black or white and can be impatient with contingency. What about that black or white thing?
Well, that is true. I am very black and white. I'm black and white in personal. If I have personal emotional attachment to a certain thing, I am not as black and white if I don't have. If it's not about my personal values or something that is really important. So the closer it is to my values, the more black and white I am. But but the further it is, then I can be very like tolerant, or I have much broader perspective. So
we could do a separate video in future on this person, because it's good, because it talks here about bringing peace to the world. What we got here? What did he say about Plato's and what is Aristotle? What is a variant of Plato's and Aristotle's ethics? Oh yeah, this is the all NFs.
Ah yeah, okay.
Yeah, interesting bit here. I actually agree that Don Quixote is an INFP, not an ENTP. because I never understood why in Socionics they called the ENTP Don Quixote. I don't understand that, because someone who is quixotic, I mean, you can say that INFP is a quixotic.
Yeah.
About that, but not ENTP. Is that the opposite?
Yeah, I think
they
they
don't have any.
Yeah, they are more like Don Juans or whatever. Maybe they're mixing.
Oh yes, Don Juan. Yes.
I think they're mixing them up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Elstra, you can't trust these ENTPs.
But I totally agree. Don Quixote is INFP, because I even use that reference often about myself, that I get fixated on this fighting against these windmills, even though I know rationally that I cannot change some things, but then it's sort of an obsession, and it's hard to give up.
That was weird then. It was weird then that Auschwitz, who was an ENTP, thought you called her type Don Quixote. Odd.
What did you say? Sorry.
Auschwitz, the original Socionic, she called her type Don Quixote, and she's like she's ILE, ENTP, and ILE is one of those types that is like, even most sociologists agree is the same as ENTP in
yeah.
So we've got if then terms. You see, I would think that they'd be quite good at that though, because they've got creative
TI.
NI.
NI, but I think it's the TI, because that's about logic.
Yeah.
So
what about this? I mean, maybe not in yourself, maybe others. They have difficulty in thinking in conditional if-then terms.
I think it depends on how much an INFP has had to confront, or how much they have been criticized about their values. If they have lived in an environment, for example, if they have had idealist parents, NF parents, or they have lived in a culture or context that supports their values a lot, then it's possible. They have never had to confront the criticism. But if they come from a background where most people are not NFs, or most people think differently or have different political or religious values or whatever, then I think INFPs quite naturally develop their abilities to debate an argument and justify their values, and that requires these kind of logical tools.
Interestingly enough, when you talked about them being brought up, Rachel, I went through the video with INFP, and so I did a video like this when I went through the INFP profile with her, and she seemed to match it. And her interests are NF-ish. Is that when I then went through Viktor's questions with her, she started to give answers that sounded SJ.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I talked about the clear instructions, she loves the clear instructions. And she would talk about her upbringing with her parents. And then afterwards, she told me about this, informed me about this crucial piece of information, is that her parents were both big NFs. And like her mother even had a room with crystals and tarot cards in it. And she like really likes her mother. So her mother was like giving her like NF lessons. And because SJs want to be like their parents if they respect them, those interests were passed on. So you have an ISFJ. So if you have a combination of an ISFJ that has those interests passed on from her mother, and you have the situation where they're suggestive NE, where they like ideas and possibilities, that person could come across, that ISFJ could come across as an INFP.
Yeah, certainly.
And people can make their own minds up about Laura Morris, who I've interviewed, because I went through the profile with her, in a video with her. I went through INFP and ISFJ, so FiNx and SIFX in the same video. And Laura identifies more with the INFP FiNx profile, but Jack Aaron thinks she is SEI. I think she's SEI, so ISFJ. And Wait a minute, should I even be saying this? So, oh yes, official typing. Yes, because Viktor's mentioned this. Official typing is SEI by Viktor as well. But she herself thinks that she's INFP.
So what does it mean that I've been typed as three? I've been typed as 3 different types by you and Jack and Viktor. So
well, wait,
no one agrees.
Yeah, but Jack is FI challenged though. He.
Yeah.
We're not going to go into that, but wow, the things we were talking about before this hangout started. Gordon Bennett, right? We won't go into that. Wow, right. Now we've gone through the NE. Now we can actually. Those people are wondering, what is NE? I've not seen any of any of other Ben's other videos where he's talked about it at length, because that's in his self-affirmation book. He won't shut up about NE. He's always showing us that PDF he did on it. But we can say what Viktor says about it. And what Dario. We've got NE, present, Dario, and T. Let's do it the NE. Right. Oh, how are we for time, Hanna? How much time do we have left?
An hour.
Okay.
I mean, it's my time. It's 20 to 10 my time.
Yeah. Okay,
I don't have that strict. I don't have that strict timetable. I might need to pick up some drink. I mean, some water at some point.
Okay, that's fine. Oh yes, this is a new. Oh, you might like this. Inside Kant's head. So someone should do this for like the Jungian. What is it? Hey, what? Oh, I've got to share screen. Oh no! I should have been on screen all this time. Right. So, inside Kant's head. So so if someone could do like a version, oh, that would be cool. Someone could do like a version of this for all the types. So any artists out there? Right, so this is an example of my control TE, where I come up with an idea, I can't be bothered to do it myself, and so I can delegate the idea to somebody else. So any artists out there who want to put 8 functions inside someone's head for the types, and in a humorous way. Yeah. So you could do what goes on in the INFP's head. Right. Oh, remember that, and they've done this for years. Remember those naughty things that they would do in the 18th century, where they would show what happens inside a woman's head, and it was all like the stereotypical like ISFJ things, and then what goes on inside a man's head. Well, you could do like the similar things with all the types.
Yeah.
Because they have the. I think on my. Do you remember they did like the ones with the word clouds, like, or the words specific to a type? The MBTI did them. I like those.
Yeah. I mean, they're good for teaching and learning.
This is just digression.
Oh,
This is my convertogram.
That's very nice. That's very TI, I would say.
Now what's funny to me, have I got it in here? Yes. Oh yes, I've got it. Is Podlair is a rip-off of Jung, and so I ripped off this diagram of theirs. This is their diagram.
Oof.
Right, and they even have Ni as the same, like Ni, and Ni. It's change intuition, right? And so I took this diagram of theirs, and it's actually quite good.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it's something good.
It is a bit bonkers, but there's actually some quite good stuff in it. And so then I ripped that off, and I ripped off a rip-off, and oh dear. This picture here is an in-joke, but someone we know looks like this, but they refuse to admit they look like that. But I won't click on that. Right. And yes, this is the convertogram. So you would be ethics of relations. So personal values. That's what. So Podlair gets a tick in the box there. They've said personal values. harmony. You are shy, so FI is shy, shiny.
Xai nu in Finnish.
Ah. Or I would say FiNy, EII, INFP. Jack didn't like this diagram. He thought, no, you can't say they're compatible. They're not. You can't use a convertogram. And then I got all the Kersey names as well. Composer, Hula. Anyhow, yeah, go on.
I mean, anything that helps to understand these systems is good. Well, as you know, we have talked about this, but I'm also very explorative or with the different systems. So I tend to do the same.
Yeah, you're a comparative person. You took comparative theology, I think it was.
A comparative religion, yeah.
Yeah. What was I going to show? It was something about NE, wasn't it? I can't remember.
It was Dario's. I think it was Dario's or...
Oh, yeah, Victor. Then we'll do Dario's. So we have here I for intuition, although I wish it had used N. But you see, that might have been too hard for him to write.
So it's minus NE for me.
Yeah.
NE no, NE plus.
NE plus, because you're a right spinning type.
Ah, okay. I'm really lost with this. I need to.
Yeah, NE plus. Yeah. Yeah. In your model A, your top 2 rows are all plus. All the functions in your top 2 rows. So your ego row is FI plus, then NE plus, and then you'll be like what is it? TI plus, and then SE plus. So yeah, I'll come across that in future.
Well, I'm definitely exploring and searching for the new. And that's in my genome also. I have this exploring.
Yep.
I'm not taking risks it's relative, because I'm not taking risks in physical sense, but I'm
this is more for ENTP. I think this is more for ENTP, because Victor was using this to like what he was doing was saying that NE plus is how the ENTP uses NE. NE minus is how the ENFP uses NE. Because it's like, these are concrete examples of the function. It's almost as if he sees them as embodiments of the functions.
Okay. Is it the same with every function?
Yeah. These are all, like, he calls them kindred pairs. So, for instance, with me, this is the difference between ISTP, that's TI plus, and INTP, that's TI minus. So Victor would say, well, okay, INTP and ISTP both have lead TI. Why are they so different in the way they use their TI? INTP is, they look at things from lots of different angles. Linda Behrens does this. She looks at things from different angles. Like, so when she tries to type people, she uses lots of different lenses. Victor uses lots of different angles. He would use bits as NLP. He's open to Dario's stuff. He's very open-minded. What that can mean, though, is with Victor, is that people have a hard time keeping up with the fact that he keeps changing things and improving. I like this multi-dimensional, multi-angle thinking. Whereas with ISTPs, he sees them as more linear in their thinking. Now, because of this, although full disclosure, Victor believes that the MBTI ISTJ is TISE in Socionics. But that might just be testing, or whether we really just think that's the type. We will investigate this in future. I'm hoping to interview some, and if we can get them types, that might help. But But anyway, going back to the EI, so we don't spend. So which one do you think matches you a bit more? Although it's going to be hard to say because it's. Oh yeah, you did say you are adventurous.
Adventurous, but it doesn't say.
Yeah, that's more for ENTP. It's more for ENTP.
I don't know.
Anyhow, that doesn't really help much. But now the good stuff is the even better stuff is Dario on NE. Right. Right. Dario says, people, please buy Neuroscience of Personality. These little grabs I'm doing here should be like a trailer. And they should make people buy, especially if I put it on the right function, make people buy. There you go, NE. I think it's very good.
Yeah.
Wonder about patterns of interaction across various situations.
Yeah. That's very much me. Yeah.
And people can see my scores.
Yeah.
0 for SE. Introverted sensing. I gave myself a middle score for that. Introverted intuiting. Guess a 4. You see, I can also imagine INFP doing this as well. Withdraw from the world and focus your mind to see the inside.
I think some INFPs do it more clearly than me.
Yeah. We got extroverted thinking. TI, that's good. I think I put bang for bang on! Exclamation point. I really agree with this one. Getting in leverage using a framework. Oh, what would that be? Socionics Model A, Model G, Enneagram. Study it from different angles. Yes, he put that in there. Although that fits more INTP than ISTP.
Yeah.
Studying it from different angles. Yeah.
I also identified with this. I remember when I took the test, because I have the book. Of course, I have the book.
Yep.
I also identified with TI quite a bit in the book.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a bit of overlap with the NE, because like between, I suppose there's a different overlap between transcontextual thinking and looking at something from different angles. So I think there's a bit of an overlap there. And I think this sounds more INTP than ISTP.
Yeah. Because this is more theoretical and abstract.
Yeah. And then we talked about FI before. And then Dario's, and then he did his, from his research, what he found out about NE. Oh, you know about the Christmas tree pattern. I've talked about the Christmas tree pattern before. Right. Oh, it's hard to find. Stay on task. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Right. I'll just angle it like that because we don't want to get distracted by NI. See part 1, folks, for that. I love this bit. Stimuli are springboards to generate analogies and ideas.
Yeah. Yes. It was funny yesterday when I told you I was meeting new friends, or new friends, and they know something about it. These not as much, but they know about MBTI and functions, and even while I was talking, it was funny. One woman was noting, what did you started talking about this, but then you went on tangent, and now this feels like you were talking in brackets, and I was like, it was so clear NE what I was doing, and we talk about another she's also probably INFP. When we are talking with each other, we just jump from tangent to tangent, and we don't mind. I mean, it's okay. We don't have to finish one topic to get into another topic. I mean, it jumps around, and that's how I have always been like that. So
I'll remember that quote in future. Talking in brackets. Yeah. It's an example of static, where INTPs do this as well. It's like, because it's like they'll put their digression in a bracket and then like try to continue their thought on. And of course, ENFJs are dynamic. So what we could do in future, Hanna, is did I show you the thing for the Rhinean dichotomies test, and we could go through that and see which results you get.
Ah, yeah.
Oh yes, the Rhinean dichotomies. Right. And you know about the Christmas tree pattern, where and again, these are not going to be good at focused, not going to be focused. And I was going to say that stimuli, and that stimuli can even be something like you're talking to an NE person. You say something, if you notice that person drift off, it's not because they're bored, it's because you've said something that stimulated their mind.
Yeah.
And they then go, and the NTPs are particularly likely to do that, but the INFPs are more likely, oh yes, that's an idea of the, yes, that's it. I mean, I've got excited now because I've got an example of the FI suppressing the NE. Where INFP might be more likely to continue to listen.
Yeah, trying.
Whereas whereas INTP, they'll go off with the thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. So we've done that. Try and move things along. Right. So that can be. And so is there anything in the brain about any apart from the whole brain state? Have I got any colours for any?
Do you have Ron's picture there?
Yes. Yes. This is to demonstrate FE polar. He wasn't happy with somebody taking. This is a group photo. This was in the public. So this is on Facebook. Yeah. I mean, certain people are poster boys for FI polar. So I've got it in for him because he criticised Viktor, and you know he should not criticise what Karina called Viktor my sensei. So he shouldn't criticise my sensei.
Sensei, well, yeah.
Now, and this is a screen grab from Socionics Hangout number 2 about NE. And this is the exact moment when Viktor said that he agreed with Dario's definition of NE. So there's a smile on my face. And there's not a smile on Jack's face, and that's a photograph of Scott.
Oh, cool.
Right then. All the typological politics. And here is a picture of an ENTP.
Oh yeah, I remember, yeah. That's true.
Right. Right, now I'm going to do the NE presentation, and then we'll get on to TE. So the NE presentation will be me looking for, I don't know if you want to say something while I open this thing. I've got to try and get to the right slide. What have we got here? Oh, I found it. Ben's NE homework. Right. Oh, I could actually say something nice about Jack for once. He actually came up with some good symbols a while ago. And then because I always like to give him credit. Right, here we go. Right, so he came up with these symbols. So he had sort of like separate right, I'm getting confused now. Right, I've got to put that over there. Put that on that screen. Screen 1. If I search for you, you're there, I think. Yeah, you're there. I'm over here. So if I then, because I've got an external monitor, folks, so I can share screen more easily. So Jack did these separate diagrams, and I opened them up in like 8 different, and then I stuck the windows together. And so this is why you can see my taskbar at the bottom. The KDE taskbar. Right, anyway, so these were his definitions of the functions, and I think they're quite good.
Yeah.
I love how he's put relaxation twice in the introverted sensation one. Now, Now Jeff would have said, now this one with SE, Jeff has said, this is way too much. This is way too ESTP.
Yeah.
This is way too much ESTP. It should have freedom in there.
Yeah.
Artistry. Yes, audacity and adaptability as well. That's two, because, and like I said, you want to know about SE, read David Kurz's stuff. Please understand me too. What have we got there? Oh, any. Right, ingenuity, potential. Yeah, potential. I don't think we see potential. I think we see properties that we then find connections to other things that we know. So, for instance, you can have 10 NP people look at the same thing and how come to different conclusions because they know different things. Yeah. Novelty, yes. Novelty, yes. But also SE a little bit. They like novelty, interest, theory, possibly. Right. So they are quite good. So I'll give them credit for that. Right, now we'll have a look at. Right, this is from the Hangout NE. So the aforementioned NE Hangout. That was still good, even though Dario wasn't in it. It was in the third one though on NI. Right, so we were given homework to do for this Hangout. So I thought, okay, I'll talk about my favorite subject. So, and this is from Carl Jung. So it also shows how force is related to Jung's definition of SE. So what do you think of that then, Hannah? Because you know Carl Jung's stuff.
Well, I haven't read the book myself, but I do know something about it.
And I love there how he puts there. It's not like the way a lot of socionics people see it. It's like as if the potential is in the object. It's like saying, no, we don't know how much is in the object and how much is us putting into it. And then I can give an example of that. So what do you think that is a definition? I'll do some more after that.
Yeah, this is something. It can be about my valuing TE or something maybe, but I've always been a bit scared of this part of NE. Exactly this, at how much am I putting something on what I'm observing, and not because I value honesty and I value realism. So I'm scared that I'm not seeing reality as accurately that I would like to. So that's something that can sometimes scare me.
I suppose an example could be is if you're discussing with your friends and you've both watched the same movie or read the same book and you get completely different things out of it and you have a completely different experience. And if you're identifying with the character, you're sort of like putting into it. So there is this idea of putting into, and there's some people, some postmodernists who go so far, and I think they're naughty as well, because one person wrote "Death of the Author" as if all of the creativity is in the reader reading into the work, as if like the author has no talent whatsoever. So that annoyed me. Dario Nardi, there you go, springboards. And again, external, so extroverted. And then here, analogies. So transcontextual thinking. Yeah. Oh yes, just so people can there's something mentioned in the NLP book, Introducing NLP by Joseph O'Connor and John Seymour. And this is a book that Dario recommends as well. This I've got a quote here about how to create a successful metaphor. And it relates to transcontextual thinking. To create a successful metaphor, one that will point the way towards resolving the problem. The relationships between the elements of the story need to be the same as the relationships between the elements of the problem. So even though the elements are different, the relationships between the elements are the same. So for instance, in an allegory, if you're allegorizing, say something about invasion of the body snatchers, if the relationship is, oh, you might have communists in the United States and you don't know who they are. So that relationship is, we have these people here and we don't know who they are. And then if you then you say the relationship is the same in the movie, whereas you have these people who are aliens and we don't know who they are. The elements are different. Aliens in one case, communists in the other, but the relationship is the same. And so transcontextual thinking is the ability to see the relationships across the context. So you're not actually looking directly at the things, it's the relationships. All right. Well,
I'm thinking of Aristotle and the difference between forms and material. So I'm thinking that, you know, the form can be the same, but if the material is different, then it can look a bit different, but there is the same form in it.
If you want to talk more about that, that's fine, Hanna.
No. Let's not go. Let's not go into Aristotelian metaphysics. Maybe.
Well, I'm interested in Aristotle's Poetics, and I've read his Poetics and his Rhetoric, but I've not read anything else of his. Right. Okay. So this is from a book, Creative Writing, called. Unlike Helen Fisher, I like to say all my sources come from. It is Screenwriting, Teach Yourself Screenwriting by Ray Frensham. And I like this, it's simple. And of course it goes towards anyone who's an NE type, because they get a bit chauvinistic about their NE. Discovering hidden links or relationships between two unrelated things, ideas or people no one has ever seen before. What about, does that fit you, Hanna?
Yeah. Yes.
A very Finnish answer, sharp and
because I'm thinking about an example at the same time. That's why. Yeah, I'm sorry. Now you can see my Finnish background. My husband, who is not an NE, ego type, he can sometimes be surprised of my contextualizing. But I can see some weird connections between things. And also with my interest, like we have talked about personality typologies, I all the time I do these interconnections, or and the same with my other interests. I don't see these systems as so separate as some would like them to be, but I like to see the similar structures and well, pattern. Yeah, I talk about patterns all the time.
Yep.
Also in philosophy, I do it a lot.
Especially those people who have a business interest in trying to make sure, in trying to say, we're right, everybody else is wrong.
Yeah. That's really annoying me. I can't stand it. It's well, we talked about this a bit before the hangout.
So, I mean, if you read the Cozy profiles, folks, if you look at the mastermind and the architect, it's pretty obvious which is which. And then if you look at the counselor, it's pretty obvious which is INTP and which is INTJ. If you look at the mastermind, no, if you look at the counselor and the healer, it's pretty obvious which is the INFP. Once you've read both of them, which is because the counselor profile even mentions extrasensory perception and foreknowledge and stuff like that. And the healer profile has a bigger emphasis on ethics, as we showed before, I think. So we got here. So and then you got Dario. I don't know how clear that is at your end, Hanna.
Yeah, it's okay.
So the ability to see patterns and relationships in one situation. Oh, this is a direct quote. So people might be thinking, oh, that's a bit of a mouthful. But Dario, this is a direct quote from Dario's Google author's speech. His Google author's speech, Neuroscience of Personality, Google authors, where he's explaining transcontextual thinking in the relation to creative writing. So, and in general, and he said that the NE types are best at this. So the ability to see patterns and relationships in one situation. So this relates to what I talked about metaphor. And again, I've just done that there. In one situation, and match those to many other seemingly very different situations, but where that context still holds, or we could say where the relationships still hold. Any energo max, so the ego rho types, the NE types are best at this transcontextual thinking. Right, and then I go, okay, Ben, okay, give us an example. Right. And then I'll give the example of, have you ever read Douglas Adams, Hanna?
Not in English. I've read it's a long time ago, so I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember about the infinite improbability drive?
No. I think you have. Yeah, no, I have seen this before in some hangout, I think. Yeah,
but don't. We'll go over it again. I might have made, but it might have been in that like 4-hour-long Michael Pierce hangout.
Yes, it was that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go through this again.
Yeah.
Right. So in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Arthur and Ford, so Ford Prefect and Arthur Dent, they have just been thrown into space by a big green alien who kept saying resistance is useless all the while. So they did that cliche. So they've just been thrown into space. And Douglas Adams thought, how do I rescue them in time before they die? How do I solve this problem? And so now I'll read on. So, and then he's talking to Melvin Bragg on the South Bank show in 1992. So I'll read this out. In 1992, Douglas Adams, probably an NET, most people who know typology and have read Douglas Adams think ENTP. And I've mentioned that before with you about how he did the dirty on his friend.
Yeah.
Right, explain to the interviewer Melvin Bragg why he, Adams, created the infinite improbability drive to solve a plot hole. So Douglas Adams says, I mean, I have to recognize that some of the best stuff has actually come out of moments of desperation. Right in the early part of Hitchhiker, where Ford and Arthur are thrown out of a spaceship, a Vogon spaceship, with 30 seconds to go. That's right, with 30 seconds to live. I mean, it's very much a stock sort of soap opera, space opera, sort of old-fashioned poser Pauline. That's right. But the thing I suddenly became worried about at that point and terribly concerned about, absurdly over-concerned about, was that I'd put them in an impossible situation. And that is what the sort of cliffhanger is. In which case, how do I get them out of it without then saying that it wasn't an impossible situation after all? And I got completely and utterly stuck. And now I'm stuck for days on this. And I wondered, what the hell am I going to do? And then I happened to be seeing a television program about judo. And the instructor was explaining something rather interesting. He said that when you have some sort of huge 18-stone opponent throwing himself at you, the answer is to use the weight of your opponent against himself. So if he's launched himself through the air at you, try to make that his problem rather than your problem. And I thought, now, you mean dodge? Yes, that's right. So I thought, there's something interesting here. Use the weight of the problem against itself. So I went back to the scene and I thought, what is the problem here? Any answer I come up with to how the escape is basically very, very improbable. And the improbability is the problem. Okay, use that problem. Make the problem the solution. So I then came up with this thing called the infinite improbability drive, which is the thing which then causes them to be rescued but also gives an immense new impetus to the plot at that point. So, and so the point is there, it's highly improbable that it get rescued unless it was by the infinite improbability drive, something that works on improbability. And so this is chapter 10. This is, I'll read all this out. It's like one page. Right. Okay, here we go. I'll just take a sip of water for this.
Yeah.
Right. The infinite improbability drive is a wonderful new method of crossing vast interstellar distances in a mere nothing of a second without all that tedious mucking about in hyperspace. It was discovered by a lucky chance and then developed into a governable form of propulsion by the Galactic Government's research team on Damogran. This, briefly, is the history of its discovery, the principle of generating small amounts of finite probability by simply hooking up the logic circuits of a Bamble Weenie 57 submeson brain to an atomic vector plotter suspended in a strong Brownian motion producer, say a nice hot cup of tea, were of course well understood, and such generators were often used to break the ice at parties, making all the molecules in the hostess's undergarments leap simultaneously 1 foot to the left, in accordance with the theory of indeterminacy. That is a really static sentence. How long is that?
Yeah.
Many respectable physicists says that they weren't going to stand for this, partly because it was a debasement of science, but mostly because they didn't get invited to those sorts of parties. Another thing they couldn't stand was the perpetual failure they encountered in trying to construct a machine which could generate the infinite improbability field needed to flip a spaceship across the mind-paralyzing distances between the furthest stars. And in the end, they grumpily announced that such a machine was virtually impossible. Then one day, a student who had been left to sweep up the lab after a particularly unsuccessful party found himself reasoning this way: if, he thought to himself, such a machine is a virtual impossibility, then it must, logically, be a finite improbability. So all I have to do in order to make one is to work out exactly how improbable it is, feed that figure into the finite improbability generator, give it a fresh cup of really hot tea, and turn it on. He did this and was rather startled to discover that he had managed to create the long-sought-after golden infinite improbability generator out of thin air. It startled him even more when, just after he was awarded the Galactic Institute's prize for extreme cleverness, he got lynched by a rampaging mob of respectable physicists who had finally realized that the one thing they really couldn't stand was a smartass. Now, if that's not NE, I'll eat my extra large sun hat.
Yeah, yeah, that is a good example, and that's also why I know that I'm not an NE lead, because I don't go. It is more reserved. My NE is more reserved than this.
And also it started with the obsession with the logic.
Yeah, yeah, it's NTP.
Yeah, but the key thing here is, and just to highlight the point, is there might have been other people watching. There were other people watching that. There were other people watching that television program at the time, and they could have heard that same lesson: use your opponent's weight against him, and that might have stimulated their minds to solve a different problem. And they might think, oh, I could use that in a different way, because their lives are different and they have different knowledge sets. They're connecting that to different things. And so this is, like I said, there would have been other ENTPs watching the program, so they would have come up with other solutions. Right, now we go to, you might like this. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Talent hits a target no one else can hit.
Ah, yeah, we've talked about this, Schopenhauer.
Yep. Jungian NE sheet, and then we did Schopenhauer on genius and truth. I'll just read this out. The exceptional man is like an archer who can strike a target others cannot. The genius is the one who can strike a target others cannot even see. I can give an example of that as Aristotle. He observed all of the Greek tragedies at the time into their components. So it's very much like involutionary. Now, so what are the components of a Greek tragedy? And Shakespeare's Macbeth breaks a lot of the rules in Aristotle's Poetics, because it's not. And the reason that Shakespeare can get away, so in other words, Aristotle probably could not have envisioned Macbeth, where you have a horrible person who does all these horrible things, becomes a tragic figure because they have guilt, and the audience is able to identify with that. There we go.
But did Shakespeare do that on purpose?
I don't know. I just think that Shakespeare was just fascinated by the human condition, and we don't know. I mean, I don't know how well known the Poetics were at the time.
Mm.
And plus, Shakespeare weren't that great at plots, because it's like, I heard that he's like only 2 of his plots were his own, and that he'd reused a lot of other people's plots.
Mm-hmm.
I think, what was it? Love, Labour's Lost, and the one that became Forbidden Planet. Which is the one that became Forbidden Planet? The one where you have this magician on an island, and he's got a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That one, and then that was redone as Forbidden Planet. That was the original plot. Right, now we can get back. So now we've done NE, and now we can go to TE.
Yeah,
right.
I like T.
Oh, you are suggestive. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So now, oh, I forgot to mention Victor's thingy about about the links, the tandem links. So what am I looking for now? I'm looking for. Have I got it open? No, that's not that. No, that's not that. Okay. Right then, I'll close that. I've got to open up the correct slide, or any slide really. Right, so we're looking for the explanatory diagram. Right. Right, so this is the link. Okay, so the link between NE and SI in the INFP is that the INFP becomes active when they see discomfort in others. Right, so we've already established that. But what then happens? So I'll ask you, Hannah, when you do see discomfort in other people, what does it stimulate in you besides your compassion? Which function do you think it stimulates?
I think it stimulates TE in a way that I feel the urge that I have to do something concrete. I'm thinking about situation because my grandparents moved close to us just a while ago, and my grandmother is not very well. She's having all kinds of problems, and I was just there yesterday, and she was being a bit difficult, and I remember I was standing there listening to her, and I felt this really this urge. I was feeling bad because she was clearly not very well, and then I felt this urge and anxiety in myself that I need to make up a solution. You know, I have to solve this somehow. I have to relieve the tension and the anxiety that she also has, and if I cannot do that, then I feel like a failure. So it in some way it pushes me into action also.
Right. The theory is that, and I'll just bring up the INFP model G. That is. Okay, that's Dumas. Looking for Dostoevsky. Where is Dostoevsky? Is that Dostoevsky? Yeah, there's Dostoevsky. In fact, if I shared screen at the start, then people would have seen what I was doing. Right, there we go. And so I checked with Viktor, and I asked him. So I asked if he thought this was correct, and he agreed. RT, so INFP, becomes active when he sees discomfort in others, and he will see the possibilities for how that suffering could be alleviated.
Hmm.
So it stimulates your NE. And you said something like that. You're thinking about, oh, what can be done?
Yeah, I start to think about possibilities. Yeah, because my brain goes into this, it starts to operate, or I have sort of, my words are really lacking now. It's like a motor. Subject. Yeah, it's like a motor or whatever that turns on, and then it starts producing these different ideas. What can I do? What can I do? What is the best? And then I test these these ideas, and that's one reason why I like the idea of nursing or being a nurse, because then I'm studying to have all this knowledge base that I can use, but there is never only one good solution, so I have to play with these different options depending, and it's sort of I feel fascinated about that in a way. It's also a bit stressful, but there's also some kind of fascination.
I just thought of something. I wonder if SJs do this, because they have NE as well. I wonder a bit like, and when you said not one solution, what that stimulated me was thinking is that I know ISTJs will switch between different methods. I just wonder if maybe SJs will switch between different methods. But they're not sort of improvising, they're switching between methods they already know, I suppose. Yeah. But then most people know more than one method.
Yeah.
But I think SJ is always searching out for a method, an approved method.
Yeah, and I think SJs will feel anxious without any method. It's maybe the worst situation for them that they don't have a handbook.
And I actually think that it's more accurate to say that they're by the books rather than by the book, because they'll have read many books on the same subject, and they'll have lots of different methods, but they're all expert methods, they're all approved methods, and then they will choose between them whatever fits. Yeah. So they're not robotic.
No.
That's what.
And I know my husband, whom I think is ISTJ in MBTI. I know that efficiency is the most important thing for him, so he will choose a method that is most efficient, or like almost always.
Right. So we've done that. Oh yes, Viktor said about, and Viktor sent this one to me because I didn't know what the relationship would be with what the relationship would be. It said so you put RT. So this is INFP. RT can be manipulated by P. That's extroverted thinking. The conscience R, so FI. Okay, I'll just convert it into slightly easier terms. INFP can be manipulated by TE. The conscience FI does not allow him not to work. So what about that? Do you have like a work ethic conscience, you think?
Guilt, guilt tripping. Sure. I'm usually very dedicated to my tasks in a way that I feel obligated to do my work. But there have been situations when if it contradicts my values somehow, then I will have very hard time motivating myself, and I can even be more opposed to
this is something I'm envious of INFPs for is that they have better TE than INTPs, and so as novelists they would be prepared to put more of the work in, take a longer amount of time.
Yeah, I do, and I think one of the biggest reasons why I thought I cannot be an INFP is because I have thought that my TE is really good, good, that it's not my weak, or TE inferior felt too poor in a way, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it's optimum energy. So this is one of the little changes I like in Viktor's model, that he has the inferior function stronger on its territory. So maybe you have more energy for something that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Then you can apply yourself to work in that area. I suppose that's what it means.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. If I'm motivated and if I'm working with my special interests, I can be really efficient and really I can make fast decisions and I'm very good at making reference and sort of condensing information and making. I know that I can do that. If I'm thinking about my studies, I can be rather fast and sort of go to the flow the flow, this T kind of flow, like efficiency flow.
Right. So this is what Viktor says about it. And so yeah, this is the inferior function MBTI. Modulators will call it the suggestion function. Sorry, I meant to say model A. It was it's like Viktor sees it as an old model. Function is governed from the outside. It is called manipulative because it's easily manipulated. So I suppose the theory is ESTJ, ISTJ can stimulate you with that function, I suppose. Or certainly INTP can be stimulated with FE. ENTP can be stimulated with SI. It's sort of like it's just like the launcher function, but it's more so than the launcher function, I suppose. What we got here? Oh yeah, tandem function. So yes, so this backs up. So both Dario Nardi and Linda Behrens and Chris Montoya, they sort of all work together. They think that it's linked with the first position as well. So say they see the link between FI and TE, just like all the other dual links like TI and FE, TE. I mentioned that, haven't I? TE, FI, and then so the four links. Was it? So the two judging functions: TE and FI, TI and FE, NI and SE, and NE and SI. Yeah. So they see those links as well. And he mentions that in 8 Keys to Self-Leadership, very good book. It's Dario's Functions book, endorsed by Viktor. That's true. See the third hangout on NI for more information on that. And then this is an example of what happens with the ISFJ, the SIFX or SEI. Right. So so the ISFJ feels responsible for managing comfort and well-being of others while being easily manipulated by exciting ideas and novelty. Yeah. And that's what you get with Rachel. And so that's why she thought she was that's why she thought she was like ENFP or INFP. The combination of the NF upbringing and being interested in exciting ideas and novelty. Yeah. Right. And for you, Hanna, it would be, I suppose, the work ethic.
Yeah.
I suppose the link with the work ethic. And so it's almost like with the delta values as well. Of,
and if I think about it, like I said in these Gulenko questions videos, that I was an overachiever as a child, and I felt that I was sort of, my value was linked to my what I did or how well I did at school, and so it sort of maybe comes forth in that way.
Yep. Yeah. So INFPs can make up for their lower TI with stronger TE, especially in this model. Right. Because they actually apply themselves a little bit more than INTPs. Now, what we got here? We got the. Is this Dostoevsky? Yes, Dostoevsky. Right. So what have we gone? We've gone through that. Talking in brackets. Any presentation has been done. Right. So if we go through this bit, and then we can do what Dario says about TE, and then we can end it. Right. So we got here. Units of self-affirmation. Yeah. So proud of these two functions. If you're an INFP.
I am proud of them.
Proud of them?
What is industry? What does industrious?
Industrious means that you are hardworking, get stuff done. So any kind of industry actually produces some. So if you see someone working hard at a job, you would say, "Oh, they're being industrious." They are being productive, putting a lot of hard work into it.
Yeah.
And again, this is another advantage of INFP over INTP.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was always, as a child, I was always proud if I was the first one to finish a test or something, because I felt that I was, really good student, being so fast and efficient.
When you were on your philosophy theology course, did you think you were more industrious than the INTPs? I'm
very different as a writer and working than INTPs. It's clear that my way of writing is very different. I would say if you looked at my philosophy text, I don't create these very original ideas. I'm better at constructing logical texts and explaining things quite clearly and proceeding in a logical way. So it's less about going very deep, but more about trying to find some core ideas and link them in an understandable and logical and useful way for other people.
Useful. Key T word, useful.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why
when you were talking, when you were talking there, it made me think of how in Dario's work, FI types and TE types is both. There's a link with language. So you have like FI looking at the meaning of words, and TE is looking at the grammar of words. And so, and NFs do have and INFPs are generally very good writers. They're very good literary ability. What about this? Are you once you've started something, once you've started working, do you stick at it, or do you get distracted?
Unfortunately, I get distracted a lot.
Might be NE.
It is the N. That's why I relate to NE. It is quite hard for me to be concentrated and to stay focused only on one thing, even though I wanted to, but it's not always. Sometimes I can do, if I have a deadline. If there's a deadline, then that motivates me more. Ah,
interesting.
Yeah.
That could almost be classified as manipulative TE. I don't know.
It can.
Possibly.
If there's outward external pressure for me to produce something, that usually makes me work better.
Interestingly, that when you said it, I think Dario defined TE as like a standard, or So that might be classified as that. In his book, let's see what he defines it as. Then see if the connection works. Right, what has he got? Oh, he's got measuring and constructing for progress. That's how he defines TE. Measuring and constructing for progress. Yeah, very good book. Right, only read some of it so far.
Yeah,
very good.
And I think where I also I don't know, maybe you know better if it's TI or TE, but we have to do quite a lot of these group works, small group works, seminars and essays and stuff like that in my school now. And there's a group of 3 of us, and my role usually, if I'm in this kind of group or if we have to write or produce something together, so my role is always that I will construct the plan. I will tell what we are going to do and how I'm going to divide the roles. That you are going to write this one and I'm going to write this one, and I'm very good at that. I can do it quite quickly and quite logically, and that's the easiest part for me to see to create a plan. But then
interesting. So do you take the role of leader?
Yeah.
Now Victor might say in his strong accent, I was ready to say EIE.
Yeah, I can see that, and that's yeah. And
so we will check out that possibility, but I still lean towards INFP though.
Yeah, it's pretty hard for me to see which one, what is, and because I don't know which one or what is the most natural preference to me, but I know that I act like that. That if there is a timetable schedule, like if you have to leave a work, this group work, there's a date, deadline, and I know that we are not having a lot of time, and I have lots of other things to do. I don't want to spend too much time with this certain thing, and I definitely don't want to spend time, hours, sitting with those other people trying to write together something. And I know I will be so frustrated if people are slower than me, like thinking, because some people they work very differently. They need more time, and and I just can't. I need to do it alone. So group work for me is that okay? We can meet, we can produce some ideas, and then we decide what idea we choose, and then I will create a plan, like very, very fast, and I will force the plan. I can be a bit intimidating sometimes. Now, I mean, in a friendly way, but I will not easily give in if I feel that my plan is really good, then I can be quite forceful with it, or I require good arguments if someone is disagreeing with me, and it has to be efficient. The other solution has to be efficient or productive in a way. So
when we go over the ENFJ profile, more of this behavior might turn up.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes I feel like, what's wrong with me, that depending on what I'm talking about, I can find these features. So is this all some kind of bubble? All these typologies, can we all find these features in ourselves, or why? Because I'm very good at talking myself into any type, so I'm a bit scared that if this is just a fancy.
Well, it's not so much that you are a type, is that you can use the types to measure yourself against them to find out more about yourself.
Yeah.
So, do you economically expend resources?
What does that mean? I don't understand.
Is your husband, does he say things like, Hanna, you're very good with the deals, you're always saving us money, you never waste money, or anything like that?
I'm not as bad. I know some people, and they are usually ENFPs, who can be a lot worse with money. Sort of like money is really burning on their pockets, so to say. That they just cannot. If they have money, they just spend it. They cannot save it. I don't know. I'm not like that. I do have. If I have there's a certain standard that I need. So if I know that I'm not having a lot of money, then I will be more careful and cautious where I spend. And I never tend to make expensive. I'm sort of like very cheap in that I enjoy finding good deals in a way, but I can sometimes enjoy just finding something even if I don't need it. So I do spend sometimes on things that I don't need. So I'm not that economical, but I do take care that I always have a certain amount of money on my bank account, and I'm in that way I'm careful. So I have never overspent anything.
And that's because one, you got an SJ husband, and you've got an Enneagram 6, and your parents. So all these things make people more responsible.
Yeah, I have my dad is ESFJ and my mom is ISFP. So I have both. But yeah, I think it comes from home, and yeah, it's true that I have this type 6. I need a certain amount of security in my life to feel comfortable.
Are you a fan of technology?
No, only if it's related to my special interests. So, for instance, now that I'm interested in this DNA genetics, I'm really fascinated reading about all kinds of tools, and I'm researching all kinds of platforms and sites where I can use. So I'm not opposed to technology, but I'm not. I can't say that I would be. I would want to buy the newest gadget or something like that. No.
In the group chat we have about the intertype relate, Nicole's also interested in things like that. About looks at genetic things.
Yeah.
Right. More behind the scenes stuff. Learning to do everything with their hands, benefit even in the small. I suppose if you think of a Russian INFP that is learning to, they might have used an expression, used to be an expression in England during World War II, make, do and mend.
Yeah.
So maybe mending things, mending clothes rather than buying new clothes. Things like that. Repairing things rather than buying new things, I suppose.
Yeah, thing is that, like I said in my the videos about my childhood and stuff, I'm just really bad at doing things with my hands. I like the idea. I've had this. Okay, there's a confession. When my elder son was born, and he was a baby, I had this. I blame hormones, but I had this short phase in my life when I thought I want to be a fabric designer. So I applied to this school. That I don't know what's the English word, but they are like textile designers.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it was so crazy. I was applying to this school that it's a mix of art and design, and I've never been good in craft. Like I said, I've been really bad at crafts, but it was some kind of theoretical idea that I want to produce. Yeah, I want to do things by myself, and I want to somehow take part in this more ecological and more grounded and some kind of I don't know how you would call it, but in Finland as a culture we value things that are made in Finland and that are sort of part of our cultural heritage, and we have Finnish women, especially the women, have always been very good and very productive in knitting and crocheting and doing handcrafts, all kinds of
yeah.
And that's I sort of felt, I think it was because I was mother, and I wanted to belong to this long chain of women in my family who have all been very good at these kind of things, and I've never been, so I sort of felt, I think it was something like wanting to belong to that tradition and be somehow like earn my place as a woman, a Finnish woman somehow.
Right.
But it failed.
But
So.
Those things fit, and they also fit some ENFJ things. But it's going to be interesting when we go through the ENFJ profile.
Yeah, it will be.
See the comparison. It will be interesting.
Yeah.
I still think you're INFP though. I still agree with you about the INFP thing, but
yeah,
interesting. So then I've got so Dario on how they connect with the TE and FE. I don't know how much time we have left, but we're towards the end.
Yeah, a bit.
Right, so we have with the FI and the TE, apply diction, parse a sentence, speak words, infer by context, recall facts, move stepwise. And then for the FI areas, hear tone of voice, weigh intent, and it's like, and all the FI types, they also have quite strong TE as well. So that is sort of backed up in the EEG data, that the link between those two functions. I'll give a bit more detail. So this is from Dario's book, Neuroscience of Personality. Right, so FI and TE areas, there we go. Right, yeah, precise speaker.
Yeah. I don't think I've been that precise today.
I think you have.
Yeah, I think I struggle with being precise. I struggle a lot with being precise in Finnish too.
So yeah, the overlap between those two functions, like region T3, so was that temporal 3? Yeah, so that's going to be alongside, just behind, or just beneath the left ear in right-handed people.
Yeah.
Right, so that's that bit done. Now what I can do is that's that bit done. Now I can end this and ask you some little things from Dario's book on TE. And say to people, buy this book, please. Dario's 8 Keys to Self, his functions book.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. When I started reading Dario's books, or Dario's theory, I identified as ENTJ.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right. It's yeah. Viktor Gulenko's Model G group. But people will get that. Yes, we got it, Ben. You can take it off now. Right. Here we go. So we again very good. SE, immersing in the present context.
Yeah.
So that focus. SI, stabilizing with a predictable standard. NE, exploring the emerging patterns.
Oh yeah.
Transforming with a meta perspective, whatever that means. I think it might mean like getting a big picture view, I suppose.
Yeah.
Measuring and constructing for progress, TE. Gaining leverage using a framework, TI. Building trust through giving relationships, FE. Interesting, like what you said before, that you see FE more as a relationships thing, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
And FI is more staying true to who you really are.
Yeah.
But I think FI is in terms of inappropriateness, as ENTPs and ESTPs can be inappropriate in the things that they say in their relationships. So I won't show too much of this book because Dario might tell me off. But I can say little things about what it's good for. It says here, as you develop extroverted thinking, you will be more efficient with time and resources. Improve your ability to solve life's many problems in a practical, logical manner. Stay objective when implementing difficult decisions, and convince others with easy to follow reasoning.
Yeah. Oh, I admire that so much. That's definitely something I admire in people if they are
Right.
good at that.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Construct an argument to convince someone using evidence clearly in front of you both.
Mm.
Lay out steps for others to complete tasks in time and resource efficient ways.
Yes.
Mobilize resources and supervise implementation of a multi-part plan.
Mm.
I won't read them all out because, you know, I might get in trouble. But
Yeah, but
buy the book, folks,
yeah, but
if you want to know the other questions.
But those questions are also, I mean, many parts of these are also in the keys to cognition.
Don't say that. People won't buy the book. Don't say that.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, but I mean, they are sort of public in the internet, so
Okay.
you're not. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, that's
but
okay.
They are not secret.
Yeah, yeah. Dario wants to sell books.
I know, and that's a good. I mean, I should buy that. I have a neuroscience book, but I haven't bought that one yet.
Yeah, it's a good book.
But, yeah.
Oh, and Viktor said, when I asked in Hangout number 3, I asked Viktor, so what do you think of neuroscience of personality? And his reply, and the translated reply was, oh, I want to talk about 8 keys of self-leadership. I really agreed with what Dario wrote about transforming with a meta perspective for NI.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's my favorite Hangout. My favorite Viktor Hangout. Oh yeah, just one thing. With the SI folks, Socionics sees it as comfort sensing, and MBTI sees it as sort of algorithmic logic. But having said that, in Dario's book, I've written down how many times he uses the word comfort or comforting. So that's 2. We got number 3. Comfortable, comfort, comfort, comfort. So, you know, so it shows that he's seeing what Socionics sees in SI. Yeah. So my personal opinion is that SI should be called something like, oh yes, I got a name for stabilizing with a predictable standard. It's summed up by the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you got comfort sensing. So I would call it something like algorithmic comfort sensing, something like that. Because they do like following procedures and rules.
Yeah.
Stabilizing with a predictable standard. But of course, Socionics sees the same behavior in SI types. It doesn't categorize it as SI. It will like put it under TI or something like that. And that's where you tend to get the confusion. So we'll end this Hangout. So thank you, Hanna, for joining me on this another epic. And by saying that in future, eventually, we will be doing the much promoted introverted sensing Hangouts.
Oh yeah.
With Dario Nardi, and Hanna is invited to that Hangout in November.
I'm so excited. It's great.
And we will try to get Socionics up to speed with what SI actually is. Ooh, a bit of typological politics there. Right. Right. So we will end.
Yes.
Because Socionics needs to know the Kersey temperaments and respect them.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. The hormonal temperaments.
Yeah.
Helen Fisher. Buy this book. She's an ENTP, but read it anyway. By him, by her. Right. Bye-bye.